I have to say, game development is hard. I've just made my first game from one of the Brackey's tutorials, and although the Brackey's tutorial was clear, concise, and it works, I still feel like I don't really know how to make a game. Why do I say this? Well, I'll get to that later. First, some reflections on the Brackey's How to Make a Video Game in Unity tutorial. The tutorial series was overall great for an absolute beginner. It was incredibly concise, in fact so concise that I found myself having to watch sections multiple times before executing it on Unity. Sometimes I could spend over 2 hours just completing a 10-minute tutorial video because I really wanted to understand what was going on, and because the videos are so packed with information and tips, you don't want to miss a beat and risk not picking something up fundamental which will confuse you down the line. Because programming and understanding how Unity works is still very much my weakest point right now, I did still find this aspect a little bit difficult to understand even with the Brackey's tutorials, mostly because I wasn't sure why we weren't using more functions that are self-coded within C#. There was instead a large focus on using Unity-specific functions, which I still really appreciated because I still very much am a beginner. As a result, the code seemed relatively simple and it worked, but I was just left wondering if it was inefficient, to what degree it was inefficient, or if I was just imagining things. Problem is, I'm aware enough to ask these questions, but I'm not knowledgeable enough to answer them. I'm really interested in practicing clean and efficient code in due course, so this is something I look forward to understanding a lot better. As regards creating basic three-dimensional objects like cuboids and spheres, well, this is not difficult, and I'm interested to see what lies in store for me when it comes to graphics, art design, and colors soon. For the time being, it's probably important for me to keep it simple, instead of going crazy creating finely detailed objects which don't really work or don't fit with their environments. I didn't really need to think about game design itself for this tutorial, as I was much guided by the style and gameplay of the tutorial itself. I did switch a couple of things up, like I used a sphere instead of a cube, and had to customize instructions to players, but nothing radical at all. I did try to create varying levels of difficulty for my levels 1, 2, and 3, which required a fair amount of testing, but even then I found the gameplay a little bit uninspiring, so I didn't spend much time trying to improve this. As I was game testing though, I found myself thinking of different iterations of the game. Like, what if some of the barriers were ramps instead, and what if this was a speedrun game as opposed to an obstacle course? I also felt that sound and music were very much missing from this. The obstacle course game idea made me think of other collision scenarios, like perhaps controlling the Titanic in a sea of icebergs, or controlling a bus that has to stay above 50 miles an hour in a busy city. I wonder what 90s movies might have inspired those. Despite all I learned in this tutorial, I still don't feel like I could make this game if you suddenly asked me to. There are simply too many missing links in my level of experience and memory to be able to replicate this with ease. It just makes me feel like I still don't really know how to make what I just made. Perhaps this is what makes me realize how hard game development is. You've got to be fairly fluent, not only in the game engine you're using, like Unity, but also in writing code, knowing how to debug, keep things clean, organized, efficient, knowing how to create and reuse objects in an efficient manner, both in terms of size and ease of subsequent manipulation, graphics, colors, art, music, story. I've only scratched the surface, and it's difficult deciding how I should best spend my time. Do I continue to do more tutorials and further expose myself to how scripting interacts with the Unity engine? Or do I practice playing around with what I have already made and create further iterations? There's obviously no harm in doing both, but I do think that I should take it step by step and really try to understand what I have applied by creating further iterations before moving on to broaden my knowledge base. So perhaps by the time I create the next video, I'll try and see if I can play around with this very basic game program and make something a bit more entertaining. In the meantime, if you want to check out this silly little game that I made with the Brackey's tutorial, I'll put the link in the description below. Until next time, take care.